The diplomatic rupture between Donald Trump and Zelensky in the Oval Office yesterday represents one of the most extraordinary international political confrontations in recent memory. In fact, I think of all time. Uh, in the media age, this sort of clash doesn't make television. What was meant to be a formal signing of a mineral rights agreement, looking developed into a public shouting match, goaded by Vance, and and it was followed by Zelensky's unceremonious exit from the White House. And the immediate consequences have been seismic, with reactions spanning from Moscow to Brussels, and Starmer's Downing Street has hastily convened a summit to manage the fallout. The meeting, which was intended to solidify the US Ukraine economic and security relations, spiraled into a bitter exchange after Trump accused Zelensky of failing to demonstrate gratitude for US military support, and Vice President J.D. Vance had escalated tensions further, questioning the Ukrainian leader's diplomatic approach, his reluctance to engage in peace talks with Russia, and Trump's declarations that Zelensky was gambling with World War III, and his directive that Ukraine should make a deal with Russia or we are out, underscored the White House's shift away from the previously steadfast American support for Kyiv. Zelensky refusing to back down countered by emphasizing that negotiations without firm security guarantees would amount to capitulation, and his insistence that no compromises be made with Putin further agitated the Trump administration. And this confrontation culminated in Zelensky's premature departure from the White House, with the minerals agreement left unsigned. The Kremlin responded gleefully. The Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova said that it was a miracle that Trump and Vance had not physically assaulted Zelensky, though, of course, that meme is doing the rounds with Zelensky, Trump, and Vance all trading fisticuffs. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, who's always happy to come in at the moment, and like Vance, actually, he's very much a Vance prototype, and stir things up, derisively labelled Zelensky a cocaine clown on a day that it's been revealed that cocaine has been found in the White House, which Trump says belonged to Biden, apparently. It echoes a long-standing Kremlin propaganda narrative that I think is highly unlikely. But, you know, the Kremlin narrative, the Kremlin propaganda is intensely strong and very effective. Kirill Dmitriev, the chief of Russia's sovereign wealth fund, called the clash historic, positioning it as a moment when Ukraine's reliance on US support was publicly shattered. Russian state media has wasted no time in framing the event as proof that Kyiv had lost Washington's unwavering backing, bolstering Moscow's confidence in its ongoing military campaign. In the immediate aftermath, Starmer placed calls to both Trump and Zelensky, reaffirming Britain's unwavering support for Ukraine while attempting to manage tensions between Washington and Kyiv. Starmer is set to host Zelensky in London for a high-stakes summit with European leaders to discuss the implications of this rupture and to negotiate a potential path forward. The European Union swiftly closed ranks around Ukraine. Macron reiterated that Russia is the aggressor, Ukraine is the victim, while the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz affirmed that we must never confuse aggressor and victim in this terrible war. An EU foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, said that the free world needs a new leader, suggesting a shift in leadership towards Europe in this in this process of American disengagement. And the fallout extended into US politics, with the Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, previously a staunch Ukraine supporter, calling for Zelensky to resign, arguing that the Oval Office debacle had permanently damaged US-Ukrainian relations. He either needs to resign and send someone over that we can do business with, or he needs to change, Graham remarked. And this represents a significant shift in American political discourse on Ukraine, with some factions now openly suggesting a change in Kyiv's leadership as a prerequisite for continued US support. In a post-meeting interview with Fox News, Zelensky admitted that the encounter was not good for both sides, but emphasized that the US-Ukraine relationship could still be salvaged. The relations are more than two presidents, he said, stressing the strong ties between the Ukrainian and the American people. And he's right from that point of view. Zelensky's defiant position has been met with widespread support within Ukraine. Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal reaffirmed that peace without guarantees is not possible, warning that a ceasefire without security assurances would invite future Russian aggression. And Ukrainian citizens, despite diplomatic turmoil, largely viewed their leader's stance as a necessary defence of national sovereignty. Trump's isolationist rhetoric and overt hostility towards Zelensky send troubling signals for NATO's cohesion. European allies are now openly contemplating the possibility of a future without US security guarantees, with leaders such as Ursula von der Leyen and Pedro Sanchez asserting that Europe must take the lead in defending Ukraine. The question remains whether Trump's approach is a strategic maneuver to pressure Ukraine into peace talks or a genuine retraction of US military support. If the latter, it would mark a historic shift in global power dynamics, with Europe stepping into a role traditionally occupied by the United States. I think Zelensky's position as the president of Ukraine is now seriously shaken. And Moscow's position is seriously encouraged in a way that is simply staggering. The rumors going around that Trump is a Moscow agent couldn't be more substantiated than they are by the scene that took place yesterday. The Trump-Zelensky confrontation is a watershed moment in international relations. To me, it demonstrates that Trump and Vance are incapable of doing the jobs and inhabiting the office that they have now taken over. This is a level of diplomatic hostility that I don't think has been seen on recorded media ever. There are stories, when you go into history, there are stories of personal clashes that take place, but we don't have a record of it because people somehow have behaved well in front of Pathy News or easier then, of course, or the ever-present media from the 1960s onwards. People have behaved well in front of the camera. And Trump and Vance definitely didn't. And they thought, foolishly, that they could kowtow, they could bully someone like Zelensky, who has been tested and tried in the heat of a major war. Trump and Vance have never seen conflict. Have never seen conflict. Let me emphasize that fact. Have never seen conflict. They have never really been tested. And Trump comes across as the bully that we always knew he was, and Vance comes across as a very nasty poodle, yapping on the sidelines. I'm appalled by what I saw yesterday. So as Starmer convenes the European leaders in London and NATO recalibrates its response, the world watches to see what Zelensky, what Ukraine can maintain of its alliances and the growing uncertainty of its position. One thing is clear: the days of unquestioned Western unity in the face of Russian aggression are over, and a new global realignment has begun, and it's not one might have expected even a week ago.